beside you.
I'm like, come
Come on, man, you can get with it, whatever it
Okay,
is.
sorry.
She was studying pretty hard. Yeah, you can come on up. We're gonna slide you under citizens' comments.
Oh, excellent.
If you could just tell us your name and who you're here representing. This is just a presentation, no action.
Yes. So thank you very much. I'm Allison Ellis. I'm SVP of Regulatory Affairs for Frontier, and I really appreciate being able to speak with you all today. I actually am part of our public-private partnership team, and I am tasked with community outreach and looking for opportunities where we can partner with local leaders to bring broadband connectivity to their communities. I do have a presentation. That's what I was sort of fiddling with, because I know you don't have presentation capabilities.
Right.
I was thinking maybe if I turned it this way.
Yeah.
Is that good? Okay. So just to give you a little bit of background about Frontier. So Frontier is a telecommunications company. We've been in business for, almost 100 years. We've been in Texas since 2016 when we took over the Verizon facilities here. And we initially were providing broadband service with DSL technology. DSL is the technology that uses the old copper lines. When we were initially deploying that technology, it was really good for rural communities. 1 megabit, 3 megabit, 5 megabit service was sufficient for customers to do what they needed to do online. Things like checking their email, paying their bills online, that sort of thing. But very quickly, the applications that people were using and the capacity that we were able to provide using DSL technology didn't match up. DSL is a technology that has some limitations, particularly in rural deployments, because it is distance sensitive, meaning the farther that you get from town, the more the signal degrades, so that you have a less good experience with broadband. We found ourselves as a company in financial difficulties, and we completed a negotiated restructuring with our creditors in 2021 in May. So that is something that is solidly in the rearview mirror for us. It's actually a really good thing for the company because we eliminated $10 billion worth of debt. We emerged as an entirely new company with a new board of directors and a new senior management team and a very clear vision for the company, which we call Building Gigabit America. And this Building Gigabit America is bringing fiber to the premises connectivity to as many locations in our footprint as quickly as possible. Our new management, feels very strongly that those who live in the smaller, more rural communities that we serve get the exact same level of connectivity that people who live in big cities can get. And in actuality, when we roll out fiber in smaller communities, we're actually able to deliver better connectivity to rural consumers than many people who are living in cities that are served with cable service can get, because our service is symmetrical and very high speed. So the Building Gigabit America, just to give you a sense of what this means, we have a goal to pass 10 million locations with fiber by the end of 2025. We reached the halfway mark in December of last year. We deployed fiber past 1.2 million locations. We actually started the year with a goal of 1 million locations, and we have done such a good job at optimizing our processes and really honing and building our muscle in deployment that we were able to exceed our target. So when we're talking about deploying fiber, it's really important to get fiber out into the communities, but it's also really important to sell fiber so that customers get the advantage of it. We do that in a number of ways, including improving the customer service. We recognize that particularly in rural communities and with customers who have had a copper-based service in the past, that they've had service challenges, right? Because a copper-based service doesn't, if you're further out and you have a lower speed service, it doesn't keep up with things like Zoom or Teams. You can download Netflix, but you usually can't have more than one user. So, that has been something that's been a big frustration point for our customers. The good news is that when we deploy fiber, it corrects all of those issues and it really turns around people's perception of the company. So you may or may not be really familiar with fiber as a technology, but I can just hit on some of the high points. The first is it's the premier level of connectivity that's available today. It's the best that you can get. It's very high speed. It's not subject to the capacity constraints that cable services are or that copper-based services are. It's symmetrical, which means that the upload speed and the download speed are the same. Now, as customers, we've typically in the past been really focused on the download speed. How fast can I get my streaming video? But what we learned throughout the pandemic is that it's really important to have a robust upload speed as well, so that you can do very interactive applications like Zoom, WebEx, remote schooling, distance health, telehealth services. And so the advantage that fiber has is you can have, very high speed up, very high speed down all at the same time. It allows you to have multiple users in the household doing these interactive type applications. The other thing is that it's much more reliable than copper. So copper is a technology that needs to be powered from end to end. So all along the transmission path, you need to have a source of power. Well, in rural areas or in instances where the commercial power supply is sometimes unpredictable, if you have an interruption in power anywhere along the line, you lose your connectivity. With fiber service, it is a passive technology. It only needs to be powered at either end of the connection. So in our central office, which has very robust backup power capabilities, or at the end user's location. If they have backup battery or a generator, the user is going to have connectivity, both on internet services and on voice services. The unit that we deploy comes with backup battery. Obviously doesn't provide the same length of connectivity that like a generator for your house would, but it's a very simple backup. It's very simple batteries. It's nothing special. You can, get their C or D batteries, which you can get at Walmart. The other thing is, so when I talk about high speed, Frontier in January of this year was actually the first provider in the nation to launch 5 gig symmetrical service across their footprint. So you can 5,000 megabits up, 5,000 megabits down. Don't have a lot of customers on that. This is a very high speed connection. Somebody who's doing like AutoCAD or maybe video editing might need that. But it really is a reflection from our management that we are building the connectivity that communities need, not for today's use, but for well into the future. That's another big benefit of fiber, is that once the fiber network is deployed, the speeds can be augmented over time with very minimal expense and disruption to the community. You don't have to overlay an entirely new network again. You just change out some electronics and you can get higher speed services. The other thing about fiber is that it is not subject to infiltration by water to the same degree that copper is. So copper doesn't like water. When it gets wet and it rains, there's inclement weather, you can have service disruptions. That doesn't exist with fiber because because it's not electrified. It doesn't have the same problem with fiber. With water. The benefits of having fiber in your community, they're very well studied and very well demonstrated. Think of things like economic development, increased property values, access to remote schooling, remote work, telehealth services. So, all very positive things for the community. So this is just to give you a sense of what our footprint in Texas looks like. So this is very similar to our footprint in a lot of states, although everything's bigger in Texas, so there's bigger footprint here. We because we're a traditional voice telephone company, now we're a broadband company, we have service territory across the state. The way that phone service footprints were drawn up in the past, for some reason, there's not really anything logical about it that I can tell. We don't typically follow municipal boundaries or county boundaries. It looks a lot more like camouflage, very odd shapes. And so when we're looking to fiberize our communities, we're looking to deploy fiber across our existing footprint. To the extent that we need to or have the opportunity to add adjacent areas, we will do that. But that makes projects a bit more expensive because we don't have existing infrastructure that we can leverage for those projects. So this just gives you a sense, in the county, Brown County, we actually cover pretty much all of the county, about 94% of the county. So this is an instance where we get very close to a full fiber coverage. And certainly there may be opportunities to fill in that extra 6%. And that's about 22,000, a little bit less locations within the county. So in terms of grant eligibility, so I don't know how much you're familiar with grants, but the state and the federal government are right now in the process of distributing a lot of money for better broadband services in communities just like Brown County. The state of Texas is on the cusp of a $400 million grant allocation process. The legislature is considering $800 million additional. And of course, you have the federal IIJA funds, which are expected to come at the end of this year, the beginning of next year. That's the $42 billion. All projections as of now is that Texas is going to win that in a big way with more than $3 billion coming to the state. That's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it's a lot of money for the state. It's a bad thing because it reflects that there's a lot of connectivity need within the state of Texas. So when we look at Brown County, we actually see that. Sorry, I need my glasses here. That there are two categories of locations, unserved and underserved. Unserved means you don't have access to 25/3, very, very modest level of connectivity. Underserved means you don't have access to 100/20. Again, higher on the download, but it doesn't address the upload issues that you have. So in Brown County, there's more than 8,000 that are currently, locations that are currently identified as unserved. So in terms of priority for grant funding, Brown County would be a big priority for the state of Texas as well as for the federal funds because there's just such a large amount of need within the community. So when I was talking about our new management and the availability of fiber services and improving the customer experience, I mean, one of the things that we did, which our management had never done before, our old management had never done before, is we surveyed our customers and we asked them, what is important to you about your broadband connection? And then we built our flagship offer around what the consumer response was. So the first things that customers said was they really wanted high-speed service. So we have our flagship offer, which is gig symmetrical service, 1,000 megabits up, 1,000 megabits down. Customers said they were very price sensitive and they wanted price predictability. We established a price of $69.99 per month. Customers said they did not want to pay additional money for routers, but they wanted a better router, in-home Wi-Fi experience. So we partnered with the Eero Pro 6 with Amazon to bring the Eero Pro 6 router into our product portfolio. This is the highest performing router. It really provides a very strong in-home experience without, dropping connections or dead spots within the home. And that's included in the price of $69.99. We have other price tiers. We have 500 over 500, 2 gig symmetrical, and 5 gig symmetrical. To give you a sense of the pricing curve, 500 over 500, I think, is currently priced at $44.99, and the 5 gig goes up to $160 per month. Again, if you were to buy gig service, if you could even get it, if you were to buy it 18 months ago, it would be almost $200 a month in most places for consumers. So it gives you a sense of how competitive the pricing is. We also participate in a federal program called the Affordable Connectivity Program. So this is a program that is for low-income consumers. The way that the program has eligibility has been defined. Actually, 40% of all Americans qualify for this program. So it's one of the areas where it's really important that we work together to ensure that your residents know that this is available to them. It is a $30 benefit credit against broadband service costs. With the ACP program, as it's called, we offer 100 over 100. That is the tier that would be free to a customer with the credit. The customers can also use that credit to purchase up higher tiers of service. And again, this is a federal benefit, and many people who are using it, and there are not a lot who are using it actually. The federal government really wants more people to sign up for this program. They're using it for wireless connectivity, and there's certainly an important role for wireless connectivity, but it doesn't provide the same benefits to the community or to economic development that a wired connection does. So, really what I would, my purpose in coming and speaking with you all today is to share with you this information, share with you that we would really like to be a partner of the community in order to win some of this state and federal money, to bring it into your community, to build out broadband fiber service to, these 8,000 plus households. Obviously, there's a big need. And, we have a demonstrated expertise in deploying fiber. And because we are currently a telecommunications provider, or historically, we have existing infrastructure through the community that we can leverage, which usually makes our projects much more competitive and have a higher chance of being funded by the state. So maybe I'll just stop there if you have any questions.
You can't answer questions.
I'm sorry.
Nothing. Are you, comments?
I do know that the legislature has put money forward, like you said, and they're thinking about more in this next budget, so I don't know how that is going to come about or take place, or how Brown County would have to get involved in that in some way, I'm sure, to bring those funds down.
So the way that the grant process typically works is that we, as the provider, would apply for the funding. We would put together a project, which we would, share with the community. Certainly to get your feedback on what are areas of priority. With 8,000 plus locations, it's likely a project would have to occur in more than one phase, or potentially be broken up into more than one project because of project size limits. It's really important that we be able to show in a concrete way that we have a partnership with the community. We get additional points in our grant application, and our experience over the last year and a half is that the only grants that get funded are really ones where there's a strong community partnership. There are multiple ways to show that. Obviously, a contribution to the project, a financial contribution to the project is a very clear and concrete way. Some communities have been using their state and local fiscal recovery fund allocations for that purpose. There are also other ways that are sort of in-kind contributions, things like a commitment to streamlined permitting, sharing of information related to rights of way, your 911 address list, or property records to make sure that we're capturing the right locations. And just other ways, collaborating on promoting ACP. As I said, the process in Texas is really underway, and so if there is receptivity to that, I can certainly put together a project plan and talk more specifically with you about that. Typically, when we have a project with the details of here's where we want to go, or here's where we see an opportunity for us to partner to go together, we have do that in a confidential session, whether that's through an NDA or some kind of executive session. That's typically how we handle that.
Yeah, we're already seeing the request to cut or more roads. Have already been for Frontier.
Yeah.
We've already been, we've already been.
Yeah, so you bring up a good point.
Is that a technical term?
But you bring up a good point. So when we're talking about partnering with the community, as I said, we're doing a lot of self-financed expansion. And so this would be an opportunity to leverage what we're privately funding with a joint project in order to expand that further. There is work going on in the community. I was just telling Angela back there that, or Angela, sorry, that you know, if you think about it as sort of like your circulatory system, right? You have to put in the big pipes, the aorta, you know, to get the, to sort of lay the groundwork to build out all of the other distribution components of the network. So, you know, get to the smaller veins, all the way down to the capillaries, which would be like the drop to your house. So that is underway. And there would be an opportunity for us to leverage that work, potentially to reach some of these more rural locations. So it's really difficult for a company to independently finance because of the cost of the litigation. You know, that's why they're underserved today.
All right, anything else? Okay, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sure. Can I just ask a process question? If we did want to, you know, take the next step and we did want to even, you know, propose a letter of support or something like that, is there, do I work with, you know, staff to do
Sure.
that? Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
And would you have to do a vote for that?
For a letter of support, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. I really appreciate your time. It's been very generous.
Next is the consent agenda. Minutes from the March the 20th meeting, auditor treasurer report. Does anybody have any of those 4 items really have anything they want to talk about or
Is there a treasurer's report?
no treasurer's report?
I call this treasurer's report.
There's not a monthly, there's not.
No, I call it combined
It's just a
statement.
weekly.
Yeah. But that's what I call it.
And, there it is.
So we're gonna
Has
approve, we're gonna approve the agenda minutes from the previous meeting. There's not a special treasurer's report.
No, we're just considering the combined statement. And then,
Recommendations regarding the burn ban.
yeah, we're, everybody,
And then the payment of bills.
has everybody had looked over their bills?
I like the motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Which I don't like, but anyway.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those 4 items on the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Is there anybody here for the 911 resolution? Okay, well, okay. Just going to go down to the presentation regarding the current contract with the Oaks. You ready? Good morning. How are you?
Doing great, how are you? Torino Russell. Yes.
Hello, Torino.
How you doing?
Good.
I mainly have come in because, one, our lease is up for renewal, this year, and we would have it made by June, present that renewal in there. But I also want to address a lot of the maintenance issues that we've been dealing with. You know, as you guys are fully aware, we're a major project on the campus right now, plumbing, foundation repair, which plumbing is, well, foundation is they're both in process. They're both working right now. We have a few other plumbing issues that have come to light during this process, and they're all stem from the fact that the building is old and has deteriorated plumbing and those other things. Out of the 5 units that I have on the campus orders for kids, I've been operating with out of two of those for the last few months, and as of today, I'm able to open the 3rd unit. My budgeted revenue, I need at least 4 units to be able to open that, to be able to run properly. A couple things that I wanted to really go over to talk about is, as I've mentioned a few different times, the lease as it's currently written has a lot of the or all of the structural maintenance issues dealt with by the tenant. You know, and I'm confident that's because of the original people who company that we're released from. We assume that lease kept going. So I would like to figure out a way of sitting down and coming up with a new lease moving forward that we could agree on and that would be a little bit more, I guess, I don't know the word, just normal, you know, because right now, things that we're responsible for as a tenant typically would be the responsibility of the landlord. That being said, I do want to go on record and thank the commissioner for the work that's been done so far. I mean, it was at a point where it was needed to make it safe. You know, I believe we've taken some great steps to make the building safer, which was the biggest push I came in initially. The pressure we had from our licensing regulations to make sure we have a safe building. That being said, we still have thousands of dollars of work that needs to be done from a plumbing standpoint, and other issues that come up. So the biggest thing I want to do is see if we can figure out a time to discuss how we can move forward.
Okay, so just so we're all, I guess I'm kind of summarizing, just so we're all on the same page.
Just trying to hear
Can you not hear me?
Well, I know if I can't hardly hear, I'm sure they can.
I don't think there's anything that I can do today to make it where they can hear in
Well,
this
there is
room.
a microphone. Does the microphone work? It doesn't help those out.
So you are, there's two different issues. Obviously, the condition of the building and the ongoing construction on the building is one issue. And then the second issue is lease renewal.
Correct.
And so we all know, because we've seen the bills, we've kind of undertaken a pretty major, much needed renovation. I think we all understand now that the building was in really poor shape when we took it.
Yes, sir.
And those problems were not, didn't just pop up in the last month or two.
Right.
It was in pretty bad shape. And it was in bad shape. We knew partially how bad a shape it was in, but we really had no idea how bad a shape it was in. Right. And so, I know you've been, has anybody else been out there to look? Yeah, and so,
We're out there again. We got another little hiccup. We had Wednesday or Thursday where they had another plumbing. It was a Friday, maybe we talked about it. So they, when raising the foundation, we got another additional plumbing.
and so we've spent over 200,000 so far, maybe closer to 300,000
It's a little under 300,000,
so far.
correct.
And so, of much needed repair. And so, we need to finish that project, right? And then, do you know when your lease is up?
December.
The end of the
Yeah,
year?
according to the lease, we need to have the renewal competition by June.
Okay.
Well, by spending that 300,000, we've allowed Ryder Passage to stay up with a plan going forward to fix all this, fix everything. Because they were getting close to being shut down and all stuff, right?
Decent, yeah.
I mean, just for this,
I mean,
for the,
if you've got
Safety reasons.
5 wings, or what do you call
Yeah.
those things? Dorms. If you've got 5 dorms and you can only use
use
2 of them, yeah, that's a problem.
That's a,
We're in 3 as of today, you said.
Today, we're opening the third.
Well, back to 3. Where did we start at? What did you have when you first came out? You working all 5 of them when you first came out?
We've had gas leaks. I had to move kids out in the middle of the night for a gas leak. And then we have to pay to get repaired. We've had water heaters go out. We've had just tons of things that we've been doing. So I know we understand the financial burden. I think we're all.
Well,
Yeah, we're,
You're exactly correct in your statement that the lease was written for some previous tenants because they were paying very little lease money. And you are correct, absolutely, that we need to get back closer to a tenant-landlord relationship with that contract. So I think probably the first step would be for you and the county attorney to get together on a new lease agreement. You know, see what you want, see what we can do, and, you know, things like that. And then, like I said, there's a time frame in there. I think you were saying it has to be done by June, so it can be renewed in December.
Correct.
That may be a little stretched out, may not necessarily have to be just everything be decided in June to renew and to be renewed in December. But those are some of the things that can be worked out.
now, I'm sorry, were you,
No,
when the current project is finished, will you be able to open up fourth and fifth?
Not, the current project isn't just that. I have one bid for $8,500 to figure out why we can't open up one of the doors. It's a plumbing issue. We have to cut more concrete in there and look into the pipes and that type of thing. And actually, this is because, you know, excuse me, I know it's early, but sewage coming out of every hole in the dorm. And the last conversation that we had was, I had a quote for $8,500 for that. And then they came out to look, because, and that would take her one side, explore one side. But the other side would be about, they have to do the same thing on the other side of this one dorm. And I didn't get a new quote for him, but, you know, that'd be about the same. And granted, I know this is just one plumber, one company, you know, talking, and, you know, you guys probably figured out, no packing a testament, the difficult to get people to come out and take a look at it and get quotes. But these are people that we call when we have an issue at night. So we call because the plumbing backed up, and then $700 later, they tell us we have to get a quote, or they have to get a quote for the work that has to be done, and that quote came out to $8,500. So that dorm is shut down until we figure out what we're going to do that. And currently, the other dorm was another plumbing issue where we had a $16,000 quote to replace the water heater. But we were able to get some other quotes and figured some other things out and purchased the water heater ourselves. And I think we're going to end up saving about $8,000 on that total. That should be installed tomorrow, or starting the installation on tomorrow. So they're separate projects from here.
Will that open that dorm up when you get a water heater in there?
That should open that dorm up, yes. Yeah, so that would be my fourth one.
I'm just $8,500. That's just to go in there and see what they're going to fix. That gives you an idea how big the project is.
Exactly. Yeah. And I knew, like I said,
First, you have to spend $700 for them to tell you that you need to pay $8,500.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we had lots of bills.
So that's another can of worms is what that is. And I talked to you frankly and said, you know, it's just at the point that's right here. I said, you know, the building was given to us and we're still losing money. We just got to figure out some way out of this trap. I don't know what the end. We're not trying to make money here. We're just trying to. We need not be losing money in the long run. Somehow we need to talk about all that stuff. And then we talked about other things. I don't know if you're prepared to talk about any of that or not.
Just the work that we're only having an issue on one side, and we have, we talked about having, here we only deal with we don't have detention kids here. Detention is run by the county. And I said, in our other facilities, we have both sides, we do get detention and county. And so that's something that we've done before. I just know that we do things a little differently. We're not intending on going anywhere. We're in a good space. We like to get the most out of the space. I think if we can look at the lease again, figure out, where we kind of lie, we can kind of move forward together.
This is by itself, it's gonna take some pretty deep, in-depth discussion. Solve all the issues, I think.
Further about the county detention area over there too.
So
The county detention area owner. Do you have any of your thoughts on that deal too?
big time.
All right, anybody have anything else? We'll be getting in touch with you.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Michael, you want to talk about that grant? This is D, consideration of a resolution to apply for victim coordinator and liaison grant.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we previously had a dedicated victim assistance coordinator in the office, Michelle Cox. Worked for our office for a number of years under a grant through the governor's office, one of the local grants. And of course, anytime you apply for one of those, you need a resolution from the commissioner's court. And so what we had done in the past, of course, you're aware that we combined that job along with our discovery technician who provides all of our Michael Morton Act paperwork. Unfortunately, that is so unwieldy and demanding that really is a job unto itself. It's not really a job that can be done effectively, efficiently by one person. So we've been brainstorming about how to tackle that project, where we can do both jobs efficiently. The model we used before, basically using that governor's grant, worked pretty well for us. I think they gave us $49,500 for the grant. In that money, we have to utilize that to pay salary and fringes, that kind of thing. If there's any capital, such as computer, that kind of thing, which in this event, that wouldn't be necessary. So basically, we'd be looking at that as all monies for salary and fringes. And so in order for us to apply, and that would be, we have to get our paperwork turned in, but that'd be for the next grant cycle for next year. So we need to go ahead and get our paperwork turned in, and the upcoming deadline escapes me right at the moment, but the resolution is the first part of that application process that we have to finish up before we can continue along. What we've done in the past, of course, is that just have the money go directly to Brown County and let Brown County administer the grant. I know that Josie's office is not always super fond of doing that, but they do it with finesse, and they always do a very good job at that. And I would need to visit with them at some point and kind of come up with a split of how we would best split salaries, cover fringes, and that kind of thing with that amount of money. And so I think that's the best way to address this problem at no expense to the county, other than the extra work that it puts on those folks that have done that in the past and that kind of thing. And I think they know that part of that pretty well and what that entails. Everything else is pretty much the same. It's, as long as you serve the capacity of people and the numbers that the governor's looking for, it's a different formula probably each time. You never know what it's going to be. And you get a notice, whether or not you make the cut for the upcoming year. And if you don't make the cut at some point, then you lose your position and you just kind of go back to, doubling up kind of thing. That's what we did at the end of that. I think we were able to keep Michelle in the office for, I think, 3 or 4 budget cycles. My memory serves me. And then I think we missed it by 1 point of getting that renewed that year. And then just kind of absorb that duties back into the regular routine. But of course, a lot has happened since then with Michael Morton, which has changed the way we do things considerably now. And so it's just kind of an impossible thing. I know that Ms. Broughton, as county attorney, also has got a victim assistance coordinator. It's just one of those things that's indispensable in helping you round up your witnesses, your victims, and so forth in cases. Our attorneys spend a lot of time doing that as well, in addition to preparing your cases. It's just one more vehicle out there that's possible to help us do our job more efficiently, more smarter, not harder necessarily. So ask y'all to approve the resolution so that we can at least apply for the process. You know, just approve the resolution doesn't guarantee anything. It's just the starting step to doing that.
Okay, and I'll read that resolution before we vote on it. Resolution of the Brown County Commissioners Court, be it known as follows: whereas the 35th Judicial District Attorney wishes to apply to the Office of the Attorney General for the Victim Coordinator Liaison Grant, whereas the Brown County Commissioners Court has considered and supports the application to be filed with the Office of the Attorney General, whereas the 35th Judicial District Attorney wishes to designate the following individual as the authorized official who is given the power to apply for, accept, reject, alter, or terminate that grant with the Office of the Attorney General, as well as given the authority to sign all grant adjustment requests, inventory reports, progress reports, and financial reports, and other official documents related to the grant on behalf of the grantee. Name of person designated as authorized official: Michael Murray. Position: District Attorney for the 35th Judicial District of Texas. Now therefore be it resolved that the Brown County Commissioners Court approves the submission of the application to the Office of the Attorney General, as well as the designation of the authorized official. So this is just a resolution authorizing him to apply for a grant for that position.
Our office will do all the legwork on obviously writing and submitting the grant.
I move we approve the resolution to apply for the victim coordinator and liaison grant.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
This is 1 year at a time, correct?
Yes, sir. You apply each budget year. I can't remember if they're on a 1-year cycle or on a 2-year cycle, whatever it is what it is. And you just have to keep up with the application and approve each time.
Can I get you a copy of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Next, we'll go to employee changes. First is A, is Commissioner Traylon.
I lost a man, his last day was Friday, and I hired him and started today. Slade Bowers, and he will start at 36,000.
Which is the same as the person that left,
No.
less than the person that left. Way less.
40.
Oh, he had.
No.
Who left?
Huh?
Who left?
Billy Williams.
So Larry made a motion to approve the employee change.
Second.
And then Mr. Shaw seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved. You have the sheet for everybody to sign. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Well, let's go ahead and do one more, then we're gonna take a short break. Next on the agenda is employee changes and it's District Attorney Michael Murray. I'm actually gonna do, if you can tell, Michael's a little bit hoarse. And so I'm gonna do the talking and explain to y'all what's going on. And then if there's any questions for Michael, you can ask. This is an employee change that is the result of discussions between me and Judge Smith and Judge Moss and Ms. Broughton and Mr. Murray. We've all met and discussed some changes. Without going into too many details, we're in the process of changing. The three judges are in the process of changing some local rule, what we call local rules, which local rules are rules that relate to what courts cases get filed in and what judges hear what cases. And so we for the first time, I guess the first time ever, we have 3 full-time courts. And so we're gearing up and we're all running, or beginning to run full speed ahead. And I'm not gonna talk about all the sordid details, but there's a backlog of the cases and a combination of COVID and some other factors and having a court that wasn't hearing cases. So what's gonna happen is, long story short, it's not our plan is not approved yet, but it will be soon. And so we're gonna redistribute some of the district court cases to county court at law, and then redistribute all 100% of the criminal cases from county court at law to county court. And so we're moving all of the cases among the 3 judges. Now that necessitates a change in prosecutors, and we're very, very fortunate in that we've had some opportunities to hire someone, and I'm going to talk about that. But the net effect, and I'm just going to go ahead. I always like to tell. Anytime I say this, I always like to tell, particularly Joel, the net effect. So right up front, he knows it's not going to cost any additional money.
Am I the only one concerned about the money? I don't think so.
I'll restate that. The plan is not going to cost any additional money. So you can relax. He started getting fidgety and he starts drawing on his paper.
I wasn't drawing my paper. I was holding the pen right here. I was ready though.
And so what's happened is, because of the reallocation of cases, the district attorney's office is now going to be spread over 2 courts. They have just been covering district court up until now, and so they're going to be covering district court and county court at law. And at the same time, the county attorney's office is spread over 2 courts, because there are still a large number of cases that were in county court at law that I was the prosecutor in. And so obviously I can't be the judge in those cases. And so there are still these cases in county court at law that Judge Moss is going to be hearing the old misdemeanors and all new state jail felonies. And so the DA's office is spread over 2 courts, and the county attorney's office is spread over 2 courts. And so we're having to kind of move people around.
3 courts actually from office.
What's that?
3 courts.
Oh, yeah, and yes, district court, CPS type relate. So CP, just for everybody's edification, I mean, Child Protective Services cases are and I know because I lived it, are a huge part of the county attorney's job. And quite frankly, we have a judge hearing those cases that is causing a lot of additional work for the county attorney's office. And we all wished we could fix that some way, but we're not gonna give up on trying to fix it, are we? And so they're actually covering, those are technically district court cases. And so actually they're spread over 3 courts instead of just 2. And so now, I hated to see her go, but it turned out to be fortuitous. There is an opening in the district attorney's office. An assistant district attorney recently left. And so we had an opening in the district attorney's office. And then I guess Michael's living right because he left a very inexperienced prosecutor left his office. And then he gets contacted by a very experienced prosecutor coming from another city and wanting to move here for some family reasons. And so he's getting to swap very, very experienced, very qualified person. Did you?
It's from a large city,
Large city, right, yes. And
not
so,
just
Yeah, it's.
Mills County or.
yeah, it's not
Lubbock, and she's,
Oh, fix that Harris.
she's a chief up in Lubbock.
chief felony prosecutor in
With 10
Lubbock.
plus years
Yeah.
experience.
Are you saying that someone from Lubbock has more experience than someone from Mills County?
I do.
Yes, yes. And so
I will go on record as that.
So all of that to say, the plan is, and this is what the DA and the county attorney are asking you to approve, the hire of the very experienced attorney from Lubbock County who will be moving in, and I don't know when she will start. Do you know a start date yet?
I'll have to get with her.
And it sounds painful every time you say something.
It's okay.
It's okay. And so she will be moving here. Then one of the assistant DAs will be, current assistant DA will be split between, I hate that word, but divided between the district attorneys and the county attorney. So that way, that would provide Ms. Broughton with additional help to cover the misdemeanors in 2 different courts, while at the same time providing coverage for Judge Moss's court.
Okay, who else?
So does all of that,
She's being paid out of the
right,
ARPA fund.
Yes.
So this new one's gonna be the same way?
yes.
Okay.
And so,
That would due to expire at some point, but anyway, go ahead.
so does that make sense, kind of what the plan is?
Yeah.
Even to me.
Even sometimes it makes sense to you and not to anybody else, right?
Yeah.
And so the difference in pay between what the inexperienced prosecutor was making and the more experienced prosecutors making will be absorbed by the county attorney's office. They have, their most recent hire was hired at considerably less than the budgeted amount. And so the difference between that difference is what's going to be used to make up. So basically, Ms. Broughton is voluntarily giving part of her budgeted amount to the DA's office to make up the difference between the salary of the experienced prosecutor versus the inexperienced.
Is that legal?
Yes,
We already share a secretary that we have,
yeah.
It seems like you're our legal representation, surely it's legal.
so I'm gonna have some assistants.
Does that make sense? Is any of that, was that clear as mud?
Well, we did know that when there
Well, it's
was,
about like the Mississippi River.
after the last election and the song that, we knew there were gonna be changes. I didn't know what all they would entail.
Well, we're pretty excited about having 3 full-time courts. We've already, this is gonna sound like a campaign speech, but I mean, we've already handled and disposed of more cases in the first 3 months than the previous 4 years.
There you go.
I think most of us knew that if we'd have kept on like we were gonna have to petition the state for for another county court at law.
Yeah.
So,
So we're trying to
so
afford
we're,
that.
yeah, we're fortunate there. So,
Just to speak a little bit on the salary thing, Sky was making 67,000 and some change. This lady, her name's Carol Landers, she makes probably close to $100,000. We're not trying to land her at the same salary. She knows she's gonna have to take some downward departure, but we're trying to make it as painless as possible. And so it's probably gonna wind somewhere in the middle of there. So, she'll give up something definitely to come here, but we will gain a lot, I can guarantee you. She's been vetted, she's a solid trial attorney, she's got a ton of experience trying very serious kid cases, first degree varieties, top notch, trial attorney at their work, so I'm excited about the prospect of landing her here in town. Like, and then us being able to assist the county attorney's office and providing them assistance in their cases as well. I think it's certainly a win-win for all three courts. As Shane's mentioned, I've talked to all the judges involved, they're very much behind this. They're fully on board and supported as well. I think it's a good plan that will assist everybody in there. Only thing is it'll, cost a little bit more, but again, there's money there in the budget that we can free up to do that, and so it's just, in time. Just let us-
We're gonna have to figure out a
Yeah, and
finances
it's-
when we get beyond ARPA, but
Right.
we're not there yet.
And not only are three judges supportive of it, but excited about it. I mean, the machine is, well, that's, I should say, the process is starting to really start gearing up, and we're gonna start moving some cases.
It's really hard to recruit right now because the job market's super good for attorneys. And trying to get them to kind of smaller jurisdictions like this, they all want to go to, mid-size to the large jurisdictions where they can maximize, of course, how much money they make. And so I feel like this is just, one of those things we looked into. So I encourage y'all to approve Karen Landers as an assistant attorney.
Yeah. That's a specific request. But you have a sheet.
I can bring it.
I'm sorry, what?
You have a-
payroll sheet with you?
Where is he paid from? General, or is he paid from the ARPA funds?
Currently, Skylar was paid from the ARP fund, but this will be a combo because she'll get some from.
Yeah, from her.
The ARPA funds will be the same as it was before, and then the difference will.
But those expire, we only give them like a year and a half or something. So when they're up at the end of this fiscal year.
Does anybody have a
No,
pay sheet?
no.
I have.
Once everybody knows what we're doing.
Yeah, we're actually thinking about that
No, we've already.
going forward in the budget.
And I can get with Jennifer and we can figure out precisely what that number is.
Well, we're gonna approve it, we don't know the number yet.
Well, we can approve the hire.
Okay.
Why don't you just say a range for right now between 80 and 85? And that, we know the number's somewhere in there, we just have to figure out what the number
You
is.
just said it out loud, so maybe we.
Well, I mean, Skylar paid 67, she has 15, that's 82.
Okay.
I don't know how you do that.
Perfect. So,
You just say what you can bargain.
But if she's taking one of yours, then we need to pay, it's gonna be working for her.
no, we're sharing her still, she's not gonna
Yeah.
be, and we can just, I don't mind still being the employer for that one employee and just on paper, it has all come from my budget, just like she's currently being paid, not change her structure at all. And then just with the understanding that she's going to be floating,
It's a smaller, it's not like a shared 50/50, it's gonna be like a small percentage of.
so, and that's probably the easiest bookkeeping wise is to keep Lorraine the same and just add the additional onto the new gal and that way we can.
It's basically what Scott was making plus my supplement. It gets that money where it needs to be, it gets me help. A percentage of Lorraine's time will be helping me.
We'll have to discuss that.
We'll discuss it with Ann and figure out
See,
logistically how to make it.
Make it exact or.
Whatever the number is.
Make a motion to approve it. Okay, it's been, Commissioner Shaw made a motion to approve the hire of Ms. Landers. Commissioner Traywick seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved. Thank
Appreciate
you.
you guys. Thank you so much.
We're gonna take about a 10-minute break real quick, a little bathroom break, and we'll be right back. Yes, that's right. We'll be right